All right, boys and girls, today we're on lesson 3.8 for Go Math, and we're going to start with some numbers. We're going to start with the numbers 5, 9, and 14. And what we're going to do is I'm going to have you pause the video. I want you to see if you can make a subtraction fact using these three numbers, and then if you can figure out a related addition fact. So I'm going to draw what I want you to draw on your board. So I want you to put blank minus blank equals blank, and you're going to fill in those blanks using these three numbers, making it make sense. And then you're going to come up with a related addition fact. So blank plus blank equals blank. You're going to find the sum and the difference, and you're going to use these three numbers to do that. So pause your video, do that on your whiteboard, and then we'll come back and check it together. All right, so you must be back, you must be done. So real quick, I'm going to add something, because what's going to happen is this is going to make a big fact family with these three numbers. So I'm going to move these over here so I have room, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to copy them so we have 4 blanks, because you might have a different answer than I have. There is more than one answer for each of these, but only 4 answers altogether. So I'm going to start with the largest number, okay, because we're subtracting. I know I can't take 5 from 9, right? But I can take, or I can't take 9 from 5, but I can take 5 from 9, but it won't equal 14. So I'm going to start with the biggest number. So I'm going to start with a 14 here, and I'm going to put a 14 here, right? Because these are the 2 answers you could have on your board. And I'm going to start by putting 14 minus 5. And I know 14 minus 5 does equal 9, and I can prove it, right? By showing a 10 and 4 ones, right? And that's equal to 14 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, right? And if I take away 9 of those, so if I take away this part right here, so 14 minus 9, if I take away 9 of those, I know it's going to equal 5. And I know if I look and I took away this part instead of this part, took away 5, it's going to equal 9, right? So I'm using the 3 numbers like Mr. Gentry asked you to do. And then we're going to go down here and we're going to come up with related addition facts. So I could do 5 plus 9 equals 14. And I could switch the numbers around and I could do 9 plus 5 also equals 14, doesn't it? All right, let's try another one. So here's some more numbers. So here's the numbers. How about 7, 7, and 14? Okay? Same thing. Come up with a subtraction fact and a related addition fact. So on your whiteboard, you probably already cleaned it off. So blank minus blank equals blank, and then blank plus blank equals blank. So pause your video, do that on your whiteboard, come back, and we'll check our answer together. All right, you must be back and ready to go. So for this to make sense, I got to start again with the biggest number. So I'm going to start with 14. And I'm going to take away a 7, right? And I know that 7 plus 7 equals 14, right? So I'm actually going to write that in here because I do know that doubles fact. You should at least know your doubles facts. And so I know 7 plus 7 is 14. So 14 minus 7 equals 7. So if you notice with this one, there's only 2 right answers. There's not 4 right answers like up above. There's only 2 right answers this time because, right, again, this is a doubles fact. 7 plus 7 equals 14, right? All right, so let's talk about our lesson today. So our essential question for today is, how are bar models used to show addition and subtraction problems? So we're going to come up with a new way, or not even necessarily new. You may have, I think you saw this in first grade, but we're going to go over a way to represent a problem using a drawing. And that drawing that we're going to use to represent a problem is called a bar model. So that's what we're going to be using today, our bar models. Okay, and bar models can be very helpful when you're solving a problem. So our listen and draw says, complete the bar model to show the problem. Complete the number sentence to solve. So here's your first problem I want you to use. You're going to use this bar model here to solve the problem here, and then your answer, blank pennies, goes here. So here we go. Haley has 5 pennies in her pocket and 7 pennies in her wallet. How many pennies does she have? So go ahead and pause your video, work that out using the bar model and the blanks. Blank plus blank equals blank. And see if you can solve it on your own. Alright, so here we go. Let's go over it. So what did I write in the two bars? So if you notice, one of the bars is larger than the other. And that's because the larger number, which was 7, goes in the larger bar. And the smaller number, which was 5, goes in the smaller bar. And so if you think of this as a candy bar, right? You have 7 pieces of candy on this side, or pennies in this case, and 5 pieces on this side. 7 plus 5 is going to give me 12. So 12 is my whole. So these are the parts, part, and then that's my whole, okay? So again, your larger amount is here, and your smaller amounts are there. And so I can make a problem with this. 5 plus 7 equals, as we said before, 12. So that means, how many pennies does Haley have? She has 12 pennies in her wallet. So here's another problem. Blake has 12 pennies in his bank. He gives 5 pennies to his sister. How many pennies does he have now? So pause your video, see if you can figure out this bar model, okay, and think about how it relates to this bar model. Again, Blake has 12 pennies in his bank. He gives 5 pennies to his sister. How many pennies does he have now? So pause your video, work that out, and then we'll solve it together. All right, so as we said, Blake has 12 pennies in his bank, right? So that's the whole. That's how many he has in his bank. And then he gives 5 to his sister. So we're going to put that amount here. So this amount right here is the amount we don't know. But we know a part plus a part equals a whole. So if I have 5 and I count up till I get to 12, I can count how many fingers I put up. So say 5, don't put any fingers up. 5, 6, first finger up, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So with my count, I'm holding up 7 fingers. So that means 5 plus 7 equals 12. And so I can show that by making a subtraction problem. So he had 12 pennies. He gave 5 to his sister, which means he has 7 pennies left in his bank. So my answer is 7 pennies, and it goes right there. So the Math Talk problem says, how are the problems alike and how are they different? Well, let's start with how they're different. Right away I noticed that this one's a subtraction problem. What's this one? And this one's an addition problem. We're working with the same numbers, essentially, right? But we're using them in different ways. But one problem can help me solve the other, because 5 plus 7 equals 12, so 12 minus 5 equals 7. Let's continue. So that brings us to our model and draw. So we're at the top of page 206 in your math book. And I'm going to switch over to a bigger version right here. And so it says, well, mine doesn't say that, but it says you can use bar models to show problems. Okay, so we're going to use a bar model to show this problem right here. So the problem says Ron eats 6 crackers. How many more crackers does Ben eat than Ron? So in this case, we're actually going to compare. Okay, so think of this as maybe like connecting cubes, right? So we built a connecting cube strip, and this one's 14. And we're going to put it next to this one that's 6, because this 14 is how many Ben eats. And this one is how many Ron eats. And so we want to see how many more Ben eats than Ron. So we're going to put them side by side, and we want to figure out this part right here, from the line to the end down here at this line. We want to figure out how many more Ben eats than Ron. And so what this forms is a subtraction problem, because to figure out this number, we have to take this number and subtract this number from it to find out how much this part is. So that problem looks like this. It looks like 14 minus 6. Okay? And if we think about 14 minus 6, we know that 14 minus 6 equals 8. So that means this part right here, I'm going to go ahead and write what it equals. This part right here is 8. So let's do a similar one. So Susie had 14 cookies. So that's this number here. That's the larger part. She gave 6 cookies to Grace. How many cookies does Susie have now? So with this one, again, we have to pretend, because now our bar model's changed a little bit, we have to pretend, just like in the top one, that 14 is a big bar, and we're comparing it to this bar, which is 6. So we want to find out this part here. We want to find out how big that part is. Okay? So it's just like this last problem. So we've got 14, and we want to take away 6 to figure that out. Sorry, my erase isn't working. There it goes. It's a little bit slow. So I want to figure that out. So 14 minus 6, and just like above, we know that 14 minus 6 equals 8. So this missing part is 8. So how many cookies does Susie have now? She has 8. And we can test that by counting up from 6. So if we're at 6, right, this line is 6, and we want to count up till we get to here, that tells us how many more. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And I'm holding up 8 fingers now. So it was 8 hops to get from 6 to 14 for this bar to be as big as this bar. Let's go to our next page. Or let's go back, I should say, to our share and show. Okay, so it says complete the bar model, then write a number sentence to solve. So I'm going to make this bigger so it's easier for us to work through it. And so here's your problem. It says Mrs. James bought 15 plain bagels and 9 raisin bagels. How many more bagels than raisin bagels did he buy? So again, here's your big bar, 15. Here's your little bar, 9. We got to figure out how many more. How much is this part? So pause your video, write a subtraction fact over here. So I'm going to write my minus and equals to remind you, and then you're going to write your answer here, and then here. So go ahead and pause your video and work through that real quick. All right, so what you should have come up with is that larger part goes here, so 15, and we're taking away 9 to figure it out, and then what we can do is we can count up from 9 till we get to 15 to figure out the distance here to make up for it. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And I count my fingers, and I'm holding up 6 fingers. So that means the difference is 6. And so I'm going to write 6 here. So that means it's going to take 6 more bagels. So he buys 6 more plain bagels than raisin bagels. All right, so I am on page 207. On page 207. And we're going to work through, how about just this one, number 2. We'll work through number 2 together. So Cole has 5 books about dogs and 6 books about cats. How many books does Cole have? So go ahead and pause your video, work this out, and then we'll check it together. All right, so the first thing I notice is this bar model is different, right? They've drawn the bar model for me. I can see that this bar model is showing the parts already. So if we know the parts, that means we've got to solve this, which is the whole. And to find a whole, we're going to add. And the numbers we're going to add are the parts. So 5 plus 6, and then 5 plus 6 equals 11. So the whole is 11. So that means Cole has 11 books. So he's got books about cats and books about dogs. Altogether, he has 11 books. All right, let's see. Let's go to page 208. And let's work through number 7. All right, so Rita counts 4 dogs in the grass. Okay, that's important. 4 frogs in the grass, and some other frogs in the water. So some, but we don't know how many. There are 10 frogs in all. How many frogs are in the water? Draw a picture and write a number sentence to solve. All right, so basically we're making a big bar model. Okay? We know that there are 4 frogs over here in the grass, and there's some frogs over here in the water. But we know altogether there's 10 frogs. So we got to figure out the question mark number. Okay? Remember, if we're missing a part, are we going to add or subtract? we're going to subtract, right? If we have the parts, then we would add to find the whole. But in this section, we're missing a part, so we have to subtract. So we're going to take the bigger number, 10. We're going to take away 4 to give us our answer. So 10 minus 4 equals, and so again, we could count up to solve this. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 minus 4 equals 6. That means there's 6 frogs in the water. All right, so your homework is to do pages 209 and 210. Okay? All right, good luck.